Welcome back to Beyond Recovery, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have a very special guest. I was on their podcast. It was Dana and my guest, Austen, their podcast called I Kissed Alcohol Goodbye. And that was your first gig as like official podcast host for that podcast, which went swimmingly, I might add. I thought you did a fantastic job.
After all the chaos in the beginning.
Well, the tech issues.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. Tech issues aside, the actual episode itself, I thought went really well.
It's our best one so far.
Excellent. Good to hear. Good to hear. Other than that, it was a little bit snake bit, wasn't it? The technology wise, there was some issues, as there can be. So, but welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Austen, Asa. We've went through this Asa. I always want to say Asa. You say you don't mind, so it's all good.
I don't care because it's
Asa.
like a nickname that was just like made up. Like I was just like, it sounded better than Sober-Asa.
Sure.
So I was like, whatever. It does.
Totally.
So I was like, I'll do that and then go by my real name.
Yes.
Which is a nickname anyway, but it's my real name as far as everybody's concerned.
Oh, so that's not even your real name. Can I
Austen
ask?
No.
Can I ask your real name?
I'll tell you later.
Oh,
I'll tell you later.
Off air. Okay. I love it. Okay. That's awesome.
Off the record.
Off the record. Indeed. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Yeah.
I want to get into your story. It sounds incredibly interesting. Before we get into your recovery story, there's a different set of recovery that you're doing right now. You hinted at Robo-Leg, which of course we can't see right now because it's underneath your desk there. But what happened? How did you get Robo-Leg?
I was in my days, I was a dancer for 6 years. I did gymnastics for 12 and I danced for 12 along with the gymnastics. And I basically had a really bad tear in my meniscus. So I ended up being an open surgery rather than a it was still arthroscopic. Like they went inside and looked, but we ended up having to open it up. So I get my stitches removed tomorrow and I have physical therapy 3 times a week. And just as a forewarning, if you hear me gurgling throughout the episode, I'm drinking kombucha right now. And every single episode I always drink it like in the middle of the day. And then I'm like, oh shit, I have a recording to do or I have a meeting and I'm drinking kombucha and like trying not to burp. So just ignore that. Thank you.
Yeah, right. We'll just say, say it's a soundboard. I have a sound effect board I use. Yeah, that's what it is. By the way, we kind of touched on the kombucha on the last episode. What are some of your favorite flavors? Because I am a big kombucha guy, so I want to know what kind of flavors you like.
So this one right here is actually pineapple spirulina. I don't know how to say it, but it's blue. Oh, and I was like, I looked at it at first and I was like, ew, because I don't like blue stuff because blue raspberry just completely grosses me out. So every time I see something blue, I'm like, ew, it's blue raspberry. But I tried it and it's actually really good. But this one is not like, I wouldn't like count it as like my favorite, but these are the Publix ones. It's a southern store, I think. I don't know if it's like everywhere in the US because we have it in Florida, but they have a whole line. So I like their carrot, it's carrot, ginger, turmeric. That's like one of my favorites. And then the 221 BC has a lavender limeade kefir water, which is really good. And then their lavender, their moringa lavender kombucha. Those are my top 3. The carrot one is so good.
That sounds surprising, actually. I would expect that to be a little bit hard to drink because I've had just carrot juice and it's like, it's okay, but like, I'm kind of, let's finish this up kind of thing, right? But
it's good. Like it's something you can like sip and it kind of has that like kick, like when you drink a beer, back in the day. Yeah. And it's kind of like that, like,
I get you. I get you.
It's good. It's it's one of my things. It's good.
Interesting. That limeade one sounds amazing. You were talking about, I think you had that the other day.
Yes. 221 BC lavender limeade. Holy shit. Because excuse me.
It's all
but
good.
I like flowery herbal flavors. That's like my thing. And most kombucha has like an herbal flavor to it anyway, but like when it's like that flowery, like, oh, it's so good.
You know what? I do like kombucha that just has the one flavor though too. Like if it's just raspberry or just peach, I like that as well without like the mint or whatever else. But I mean, it seems to be kombucha like to your point will add some kind of extra flavor. It's like peach. Turmeric.
Something else. Right. I've never had just a plain flavor.
No? Oh, you're missing out. Well, that's the thing. Like not too many places do it anymore because I remember there was a place down in Vancouver that was doing it by my brother's house and people were like complaining. They're like, it's too plain. All it is raspberry. So they started adding it. We were like, no, I was like, perfect. I love that raspberry
No,
one. Now it's like
people complain about
raspberry.
anything.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Now here I'm complaining about the fact that they changed it. So there you go. Case in point.
Guilty.
Yeah, guilty. Yeah, guilty as charged. Yeah. So okay, so yes, torn meniscus recovery. What is your recovery time for that? Like, are you gonna be
basically no weight bearing for 6 weeks? So it's another month
another
on
month
that.
Okay.
And then relearning to walk basically because my leg is very weak. I'm actually like really good with my exercise and stuff. I do them 3 times a day, and then I go to physical therapy 3 times a week. So they're strengthening my leg, but my knee itself is really weak, and I accidentally kind of like tripped a little bit, and I put like a little bit of weight on my knee just because I kind of like fell over, and it literally felt like a flamingo leg going backwards like the wrong way. But it didn't, but it felt like it. I was like yeah, I had to lay down after that one.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was on my way to the bathroom too, so I just laid back down. I was
like, no, I don't have to go anymore.
Yeah, it can wait.
It can wait now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so recovering from that. All right. Well, let's get a little bit back in time. I'm glad you aren't like laid out for the whole summer though. That would have been a drag.
Oh yeah.
But
as if I go.
Month,
yeah, as if I leave my house anyway.
Is that right? And so Florida, and born and raised in Florida, or whereabouts?
I was not.
Interesting. Okay.
I moved to Florida about 3 years ago, actually, funnily enough, to get sober. And I failed miserably. I got a DUI a month after so I was sober for like a month, and then when I got over all my like withdrawals and stuff, I went out trying to find a new job at a club, of course. So I drove out there, went to the club to try to get a job, and then I ended up drinking while I was there, and then I got a DUI on the way home. So it was like,
dang.
It's funny now because I mean it was like a whole situation. Like the actual situation of the DUI wasn't even, it was completely like, this doesn't make sense. I've never been pulled over in my life. So like that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing that it's like, what the hell? So it just was a whole series of unfortunate events as usual, as with my life.
Right.
Yeah. So
sounds like it.
That was that. But now, I've been down here for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in July. And I live with my grandparents because I'm an only grandchild, and I'm spoiled. Not really spoiled, but I definitely, I have really supportive family. They've been with me throughout this whole entire recovery journey. And so I'm actually from the DC area and upstate New York. I lived all around upstate New York and then around the DC area. I actually lived in Scotland for a while, going to college, and then I came back. I've literally moved, like, I don't sit still. Like, this is going on 4 years. I'm getting antsy. Like, I'm like, okay, this is enough,
Where would you move if you could move?
Sedona, Arizona.
Whoa, you just had that ready to go.
It's on my vision board behind me. You can't see it, but
I can kind of see it. Yeah. Vision, it's funny you mention. I'm about to start a vision board here. So
that was homework.
Super cool. Oh, yeah, that's the best
from one of my classes. Yes, I know that my school is so awesome. I go to Maharishi International University in Iowa. I do online classes. I'm actually studying consciousness and human potential, like we talked about.
Yes.
And then my minor is in regenerative organic agriculture. So,
man, so cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. We'll definitely get into that. Let's get back into like an origin story though. So we're going to go back to,
of course.
Where were you born then? Was it New York or DC?
I was born in Wichita Falls, Texas on Shepherd Air Force Base.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. So yes, you have definitely moved around a lot by the sounds of it. So let's get into it. I'll give you an open forum. Just give us all sort of the backstory on like the your intro into drinking and drugs and into your teenage years and just some of the high points or low points of your introduction into this world that we're talking of.
There's a lot. It's a lot to unpack here because I haven't I've told the story on my blog, but from start to beginning or start to end, but no, start to beginning, I guess you can say, because it's like a start and then a ending and then a beginning, and then another beginning.
So start to beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically I grew up in a pretty good family. My parents were divorced. Excuse me. My allergies are really bad right now. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
But I grew up very good family, like, just average American family, I guess. And basically, all that stuff was cool. During my childhood, a lot of family members had problems with alcohol and drugs around me, but not anything like from my direct family, nothing from like my mom, my dad, my mom's side grandparents. My dad's side, my grandma, she passed away. She had some issues, mostly with alcohol. And then I have my uncle, my dad's brother passed away as well from alcohol. And I've lost a lot of family from alcohol, basically.
Wow. Okay.
A lot. Yeah. So most of everybody that in my family either died from like some kind of cancer from alcohol or smoking or whatever, or some other drug related kind of incident, which, it kind of does have an impact on you as a kid. But as when I was a kid, I wasn't really like super close with that side of my family. So it didn't really affect me like firsthand, I guess, like maybe subconsciously. So after like, when I was 14, or as soon as I got into like middle school to like freshman year, I started hanging out with like the wrong crowd. Cliche, here it goes, etc., etc. Started smoking weed when I was like 13. Started drinking when I was like 13. I just say 14 because I think that was when I actually like drank. Like I've had like sips of drinks since I was a kid, basically. Like somebody, tried the beer, hee hee hee, kind of laughing at the whole situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was about 14 is when I was at a garage party at one of my friend's house, whose family was not present. And I had a natty light. I had the full thing, and the first sip I took, I was like, "This is going to be a big problem for me." I knew, right?
That's what you said to yourself.
Oh, I knew it, and I was 14 at the time. Remember, so that I don't even know how to explain it. It was something like a switch went off in my mind, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is going to be a problem."
Yeah.
So yeah, after that, it kind of just went downhill even more. Just got into more partying and more going out late. But like my mom, I would just tell her I was going, like I never lied to her. Well, I did lie to her, but I never was like, oh, I'm going to sleep and snuck out. I told her, oh, I'm going to go to this friend's house or whatever, and just wouldn't really elaborate. So I don't blame her at all, because my parents were very like, my mom was very kind of like laid back, which is a great thing, but I took advantage of it. It was me taking advantage of the trust that she had for me. And then the couple times that I got caught, it ruined the trust, and then we had the cycle, whatever. The whole cocaine story started when I was about 19, when I started dancing. I had an abusive boyfriend who was a drug dealer, and cliche again, here we go, my whole life is a cliche at this point. And he got me into coke, basically. Got me into the club too. It was like, yeah, it'd be a good idea, kind of whatever. And now, of course, I was 19. I'm like, and he was 27, 28 at the time. So it was kind of a, whatever. And that happened. And then once we broke up, I ended up dating an older guy who was like 38 and I was like 20, which I have nothing against, it's not that big of a deal. But the people that I was dating, it always starts off so like good, and people always blame women for, oh, don't date assholes, kind of thing. But it doesn't start out like that. You don't really like, most of the time you don't know. Right. So get into that situation, whatever. This is what I like, everything just kind of started going downhill. And eventually I moved out. I had my own apartment, which was also just a whole other story. Then I was drinking from the second I woke up, for the second I went to bed, doing about an 8-ball of coke a day by myself. I am a 4'11", 115-pound person right now. Before, I was like barely 100 pounds. Like, and I have, you don't grow past, certain age. So I was so like, I'm actually going to do a before and after picture that includes one of my pictures from the club and how skinny and small I was compared to like how healthy I am now. So like, it's shocking. Like I have a lot of before and afters that I'm going to be posting. Excellent. And yeah, so then after, me and my mom's my best friend. I talk to her every single day. My mom and my stepdad were like trying so hard to be patient with me. And I ended up in the hospital after like a whole like content warning, like suicide kind of deal, whatever. And then after that, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then my mom was like, basically like, you got to figure it out. She took my car away, which, it was my car, but she was, her name was on it. So, but, and it like, it's my car is still sitting outside and I haven't driven it in 3 years. Like,
oh, wow.
Because I have the car still, it's paid off, but it's like, that's my goal actually. Like now is just save up money to get that car back on the road. But yeah. So basically she just was like, figure it out, or else I'm going to basically send you to rehab. So I was like, I asked my grandparents if I could come stay with them for a month. That happened. I got a job, and then I went back up to get my car because I got a job. And then literally a couple weeks later, after I got my car, all shit, shit hit the watermelon hit the floor. So
good callback.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that now, and then here I went through 3 years of, in the clubs, because I had to make money to pay for my probation and stuff.
Right.
So I was dancing and I was still drinking and doing drugs. And of course I got caught. So then I had to go to jail for a month. And then when I got out, I kept doing it. And I kept drinking like detox drinks before my drug tests. And every single week, like I've never admitted this like straight up, but that's what I was doing. I was going to GNC $50 a week for these drinks. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to give people ideas, but
yeah.
I like, and it worked every time.
Really?
For the I almost got caught, but it was with a completely different thing. So I actually had taken NyQuil because I was really sick, so they had to send it to the lab, and luckily it came back as a NyQuil because I was taking NyQuil, but I was also drinking. So I'm just they can't tell the difference of the alcohol in NyQuil and the alcohol in.
Okay.
So they just took seen the ingredients in the in the NyQuil in my pee basically, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, you pass, it's fine.
You're passed, yeah.
And then I got a test one time that the lady was like, when was the last time you did meth? I was like, what? I've never done meth.
How about never?
Like, yeah. Period. And I'm not even lying about that. Like,
right.
That's not something I've ever done. So, well, knowingly, I'll say that, because there's been times that, knowingly.
Something laced or whatever.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly. So that scared the shit out of me, but the line ended up being fine. I think she was just being a bitch, basically. Excuse me. I keep swearing. I'm sorry.
All good. All good.
Yeah. So that was that. And, and now I basically, I kept working and paying, I've been off probation since 2020. And I'm just starting to get my life back together because I was so stuck in the cycle, of especially in the clubs. Like I was just stuck in the cycle of being in the club. And I did quit for a while after one of my friends passed away in a motorcycle accident. I quit for about a month, and then I just realized, like, I actually took a shot that was supposed to be one of my fake shots that I got, and that was the end of that. I was back. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the end of that. So that, and then to my beginning, on March 5th, 2022, I woke up going through withdrawals really, really bad. I was too weak to tell sorry, I'm playing with my keyboard thing.
Yeah.
I was too weak physically to get up out of my bed to tell my grandparents to bring me to the hospital. So I went through withdrawal basically in my bed for like days. And then, after, like, that day was the day that I said no more, and I actually meant it. So that was that. And today I'm 65 days sober. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
So lots to like you say, lots to unpack there. So let's I'm just kind of scribbling. I find that as soon as I scribble some stuff down, it's easy to backtrack. So how old are you now? I forgot to ask you that at the beginning.
I'm 24.
24. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's coming up on 4 years in Florida. You initially went out there to sober up, obviously got, like you say, you've been, you got in this more or less the wrong crowd, and one thing led to another. And here we are, March 5th. You woke up, you decided, I guess you didn't really decide, but as fate would have it, you ended up going through these withdrawal symptoms. And at that point you were just like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to sober up now. And from there, what are some of the things, before we backtrack, because it's really worth talking about, what are some of the things in this short window of time, we're a little over 2 months now, like you said, 65 days, that you've been doing and using, getting yourself out there, getting your story out there? What are some of the things that you've been doing to ensure that you stay on this sober lifestyle? And I think it's great. Like, just tell the people about what you're doing with your blog and your Instagram and this podcast that we're going to get into and all that. What's working for you to keep you on the straight and narrow?
Basically community. I use the ReFrame app and I attend as many meetings as I can. I do the daily check-in one almost every day just because things overlap, and I got home a little bit late today from my physical therapy because I wanted a public sub. So I didn't get to go to that meeting. I was hungry. So that was that. But I just, the I couldn't do AA, the whole 12-step thing, which I will talk about
Okay.
later if
Yeah,
you would like,
I
because I
would.
have a lot to say about it. But
Yeah. Yes,
so
definitely.
yeah, just
So
community, friends, well, friends, just out online, because I don't have any
yeah.
support where I am right now because it's all AA. There's nothing else. I've searched and I've looked. I've
Is
looked
that
on
right, eh?
Meetup yes, and I've looked on
Interesting.
Meetup trying to find some kind of like group for my age, because where I live, it's very retirement-y. I don't really know.
Yeah. I've
Yeah, where
always
I
heard that
live,
about, yeah. Yeah.
in especially this area of Florida
Oh,
specifically.
specifically.
Yeah,
Okay,
because like
gotcha.
Florida is in like everybody else, like all the younger people drink drugs. Like it's just that's how I got back into the crowd so fast, and the
Right.
environment that I was in. I can't blame the people because I was also involved. But yeah, like just community, and I have my blog and my Instagram and stuff to keep not only myself accountable, but to show other people that it's possible to do this without a 12-step program, or to do it without some kind of like in-person support, because a lot of people have this idea that they have this crippling disease and they're going to suffer from it for the rest of their lives, and I don't like thinking like that, because, and I wrote a paper on this as well, which I'm actually going to put in my blog and like kind of change it up just to reword some things. But
Cool.
I did a lot of research on the learning model over the disease model, and how it helps recovery, way
Mm.
more than telling somebody you're sick, you're going to be sick forever.
Right.
It's so
Yeah.
doom and gloom, and it's just and I used to be a hardcore like, oh pity, oh poor me, I have a disease. Like, you don't have a disease because you decided, like, you picked up, not you decided, let me know,
Mm.
because you picked up a substance that's addictive, that people are normalizing. People are normalizing alcohol. You don't have the choice really to pick it up. It's not something like, oh,
Mm.
I think I'm gonna have a beer today. Like, no, somebody's like, here, have this, and then you start
Yeah.
drinking it, and you don't know how your brain's gonna react.
Mm.
So that's my big thing with that. So I'm showing people that, I we don't have to fall victim to these ideals and this mindset. So that's what my Instagram and my blog is going to get more into. And, I just, that's how I've been surviving, basically, just knowing that this is not forever. And
Yeah.
I'm proactive about it. Like, I'm not going to think about myself as an alcoholic. I fucking hate that word. I'm sorry, but
Same here.
I
Yeah. No,
hate
I
it.
agree.
There's
Well,
just a whole bunch of things.
let's get into a couple of these, because like I feel the exact same way about you. I choose not to say the phrase or the term alcoholic.
Yeah.
And AA, I grant, as you know, is a big part of my story at that
Yeah.
time and place the first time I sobered up. So I obviously have a soft spot and a bias in that sense.
Hmm.
Having said that, I can completely see, what your side of things, that I'm assuming, I haven't heard it yet, but as soon as what you're saying, as far as with AA being, I'm actually curious. Let's get into, what is it? Is it sort of an outdated model? What is it specifically that rubs you the wrong way about AA? And again,
So
when I say before, I feel responsible enough to say this, like anybody that's listening that's into AA, whatever works for you. We are
whatever
not
works.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make
Whatever
sure we say
works.
that for sure.
Yes, 100% whatever works for you. For me,
Totally.
it didn't work. So I actually, a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, well, they forced you to go. I had to go to AA for start when I
Mm,
got out of jail for part of my probation.
gotcha.
That was not the part that I didn't like. I didn't, I went because it was good for me to like learn from other people's experience, which it didn't help because obviously at that point I was like 22. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, like, and since I've gotten sober, I have done like online meetings and like tried to listen into as many as I could, because that's all I knew at first, before I found ReFrame and before I found any of these, and even before I like really quit. So basically the whole thing with AA is they really push that you have an allergy or a disease,
Mm,
something like that, you are a dry alcoholic, that kind of thing. And it's just so doom and gloom, like going into those rooms sometimes and you hear people like, after, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but you like hear some people just like making, oh, I can't drink, rather than I don't drink. It's like, it's not that
mm,
you can't, you choose not to, and you're
right.
that's good. You
Yeah.
don't need to say, oh, hi, my name is whatever and I'm an alcoholic. Like, it's just an outdated model based on outdated science with no basis, basically.
Mm,
And the big thing with the basis of the disease model, I want to get into this really quick before I'm going to go back to AA, but
yeah.
the basis is brain change. They say a lot about, oh, the brain changes, so that's a disease. The brain changing does not a disease make, period. Your brain changes every single day. It's very plastic. The whole science of neuroplasticity is huge now. It's getting a lot more recognition and a lot more study. So your brain changes, like, so I keep my drink on this side, and that's where I keep it. If I don't have a drink there, I still sometimes will reach for it because I know, like, I think it's there. That's basically what it is. It's like your brain gets conditioned to do things. You can unlearn things. So when I go into these spaces or hear people saying, oh, I'm an alcoholic, I have a disease or an allergy, your brain just naturally learns something. It got addicted to an addictive substance. And hearing people say, oh, I'm an alcoholic, I'm going to need treatment forever kind of thing, it keeps you in this hole that you can't really get out by yourself. And that frustrates me because you can get out of that hole and you don't need to think of it that way. Like, thinking of yourself being in a hole like that with a disease keeps you giving money to these rehabs, these luxury rehabs, these regular rehabs even, that keep teaching you that you're sick and you're going to have to keep coming back. So you don't have that in your mind that you're powerful enough to overcome it. And yeah, I just, like, if you go to AA and it works for you, that's fantastic. For me, it's too doom and gloom. And I used to be a very negative person. So I thought I would fit in really well, but I didn't, because now I'm not like that. And I proved to myself that I could do it, by going into it thinking I can overcome this. Now I don't even think about alcohol. I just don't think about it. It's like when you're a kid before you have alcohol, before you start noticing what it does to people, you don't think about it. And now and it's only been 2 months. I don't think about it. I don't think about, oh, I deserve a beer right now, or because I condition my mind so much. I do so much meditation and visualization, telling myself I don't need it, and my brain learned that I don't need it. You know what I mean?
Cool. Super cool. Let's get into that part of it, because I'm really interested. And we talked about how we were going to talk about what you're taking in school on the podcast that we did on your guys' podcast. So let's get into it. How far are you into this? It sounds incredibly interesting, the consciousness work that you're doing. And what are you looking to do with it? Like, you're looking to get into coaching at some point. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically my degree will be in applied arts and sciences, but my specialization is consciousness and human potential. So I'm learning about consciousness as like where it comes from,
cool,
how to study it, like how the brain works, like basically. So, honestly, it's a lot. There's a lot.
How about, where does consciousness come from?
For what I'm learning, basically it comes from the unified fields. So like there's levels, and everything that you see around you, like you can have, there's like 3 different schools of thought. Like there's monism, where you think that consciousness is everything, which is what I think. Like I think all of this exists because of consciousness,
Right.
And then you have the people in the middle that are like, there is matter, like these things, and then there's your consciousness that you have inside of you. And then there's the scientists saying that basically, or like this, that's like the main thing in the scientific community, is science is just consciousness is just a byproduct of your biology. It just happens. Yeah, but for me, thinking about it is like, I believe that I am the universe or consciousness or whatever you want to call it, experiencing itself in a human body to learn a lesson.
Yes. Ooh.
That's why that's why with my recovery journey is I take it as a lesson, and that was what my higher self was supposed to learn, and I learned it. So now I know my purpose. Basically.
Oh man, I love this stuff. I love it.
Thank you.
I very much resonate with that. So, because I was listening to this audiobook called Karma, which is like Sadhguru or Sadhguru. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I'm about halfway through. It's very interesting because it's like, obviously, like the Western take on karma is always like, westernized of anything is like the most simple version of it. Whereas like, if you actually look at what karma is, and again, I'm going to probably oversimplify it, but it's like these lessons that even could be like ancestrally passed down. It's like lessons that you are now responsible for because it's been passed down generation to generation. And now you're responsible to learn that lesson again, regardless if it's something that you have taken on. And so it isn't just like, what goes around comes around. I mean, that's like a very, again, overly oversimplified version.
Yeah, because that's not exactly what it is.
Exactly.
What you're like, the karmic residue that you carry from past generations is why we're becoming more enlightened and we're waking up more, is because from generation to generation, it's all been lessons from the beginning of humanity.
Exactly.
It's been lessons of growth and that was accelerated growth during the Renaissance. And right now people are getting more into the ideas that of what our Eastern civilization has known forever.
Right.
And like Vedic science and all that, which I'm studying. So all that stuff. And it's like, we are on the brink of a big shift. And
I agree
the
with
more
you.
people that are getting involved in this shift and, doing something to make it happen and learning their lessons and going through with life as they're supposed to, in love rather than in fear, the more people we get on that train, the better that future generations, which could be us again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get there. Achieve this, enlightenment. So
I'm glad you feel the same. Like I had this other podcast I did before this one, and I always used to, at the end of the episode, I'd always say, do you feel that there's like a shift happening? I just was always interested to see what people thought about, because I've always, well, I shouldn't say always, but specifically the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, like I felt it in me, and I felt it in things around us. And yes, it's like, okay, there's the pandemic, there's like all these race issues, there's the wars and stuff. But despite all of that, I honestly do believe, and it's interesting you feel that same way, that there is people, like you say, are waking up and growing, and they're shifting their consciousness as far as like, or shifting their priorities. It's not just all about the grind and money anymore. It's like, it's about becoming a better person, right? So yeah, that's super cool that you have that outlet in your or the outlook rather, and that you're taking that in school even. So consciousness and the human potential, how do those two like, are those two separate courses, or is the course consciousness and the human potential?
It's the same, like it's one and the same,
like
because the higher the higher your consciousness and the more integrated your consciousness within yourself, the more potential that you have to give to others to learn and grow. So basically a lot of my classes are based on things like learning about the higher states of consciousness, learning about how to basically spread the word in a way, but like how to use your higher states of consciousness to help, like it's kind of hard for me to explain completely, but it's basically just about like raising your consciousness level so that you can kind of
help others around
and that's why I want to be a coach as well, because I have a little bit deeper knowledge about these things and how the mind works, and because it's not psychology, it has nothing to do with that, it's literally the source of thought. Like I do transcendental meditation as well, which I can't talk too much about, but I spend a lot of time trying to achieve that higher state of consciousness, and I actually have noticed that I definitely am just a higher level than I was. Now I realize everything, and I see things, I take everything in love. I don't really get mad about things anymore. I don't get frustrated. I don't get upset. Like I'm very calm, and that was never me ever. And I don't think it was just quitting drinking and quitting drugs. It's been this whole experience with my school and with TM and with, I've always been kind of like, ooh, I've always been that way. But, and my mom has even said like you've always been a little off, kind of thing, joking around. My family jokes about it all the time, but it's definitely true. Like I was born to do something, and I'm doing something now. So
that's like the term dharma, right? Is like the Eastern, which is like a life meaning, and it's really cool. No, I love that. I could talk endlessly about all this kind of stuff. Super cool you get into that. So and it's another thing I've noticed. I'm wondering what your take is on it. Is I feel that the like spirituality and the science, which used to be fairly far apart, anybody that was really into science, like I view my brother, he's like super smart science guy, right? And he's very kind of detached from spiritual. He's like always dismisses it, right? But I'm finding that like the further on we get, more science can like actually prove some of the spiritual stuff, right? Absolutely. So it's really cool to actually see them come together. And it's just like the stuff that you or I or like other people that quote more like spiritual or whatnot have been like feeling or knowing, having this like knowledge of, it's actually scientifically slowly getting proven, which is super cool as well.
It's great. All this
it's neat.
Ancient Eastern and ancient, just mostly Eastern in general, but ancient Vedic science that I'm studying, it all just makes so much more like so much sense in context. It's like it doesn't necessarily explain scientifically why these things happen, but it tells you what's happening and kind of like why this is happening. And now science is like proving why it's happening
Yeah.
in like a real
Yeah.
sense, and it's in a reality sense, but the whole
Yes.
illusion of reality is a whole other story. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
a lot, it's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot to
Yeah.
unpack.
Very much. Yeah. I think we're
That's the
probably
theme of
getting
the
off.
episode.
Yeah. Getting into, yeah, exactly. There's a lot to unpack. We'll title
Yeah.
it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's I wanted to get into that because it's a big part of a lot of people's, let's face it, a lot of people's recovery is spiritual based, and very much in yours. And that's the direction that you're going to be taking it with your coaching. And you're going to be applying that to helping folks through the recovery with this knowledge that you're getting. So definitely worthwhile talking about it. We are booked to have a special cameo guest potentially coming on any minute now. So the listeners will be in for a treat for that. But before we do, yeah, let's as we're waiting for him or her, well, we can't reveal who it is quite yet. Let's just kind of, yeah, it's a surprise. Let's just go back a little bit and kind of let's look back at when it was in your kind of your darker days, when you're talking about like you felt very sort of out of alignment with yourself. It was cocaine, it was things of that nature that was happening. What was the one or two things that really got you through, when you're just like, okay, was there something in your head still that's like, there's more to me than this? Like, what was it? Especially if you don't mind, like getting back to you had some suicidal ideation, like,
oh, absolutely.
When you were in that state of mind versus who you've become today, what was it like to be back in that time period? And what were like the couple things that were like, that you would feel, or was there a certain person that would continue to remind you who you were? How did you get through those times?
Honestly, the person was definitely my stepdad. He has been my person for pretty much, the majority of my life, almost half my life. And he was always kind of there to kind of, tell me that there's more to life. And, like he understands because he also has the same, because I'm bipolar and I have panic disorder. I have a lot of mental health issues, and I'm so lucky that I'm treated, like my treatment works so well now. And my TM, I could not be sober without my TM. I'm just sitting my transcendental meditation. That has, transcendental meditation and tapping, completely the best. But I would say my stepdad, and just trusting that it's weird because I had no kind of like, oh, it'll get better. Like somebody would tell me that and I would cuss them out. I would be so pissed. Like, don't fucking talk to me about that shit. You don't know anything about what I'm going through. And because it's true, like I was going through so much hurt, but what really guided me was, and this is going to sound dumb, but I'm going to say it, my dreams. My dreams that I had when I was sleeping. And I've always been, that's why I was always caught a little weird. My grandmother who passed away, she used to call me scary just because like, or just like that kind, because I mentioned it on my friend's podcast, who's now our podcast, I have always been a lucid dreamer. And that was, like literally lucid dreaming, like when I was really, really messed up and stuff, I a lot of times couldn't remember my dreams, but the dreams that I do remember were very vivid and very, very safe feeling. Cool. So I always knew that there was something beyond that, which also actually contributed to my suicidal ideation. But it really kind of made me like, no, I'm not done here yet. Even though I was like, I know it's not going to get better. I'm going to be a lesson for somebody. I didn't know it was going to be a good lesson.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. So you just, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now that I know it's a good lesson, instead of, oh, I'm going to be the example for this, like I'm going to be a negative example by killing myself. Sure. I'm the positive example for putting myself out there and telling people, educating people about addiction and being honest about my story.
Totally. I love that. So interesting. Yeah. So lucid dreaming. So you don't know of anybody in either side of your family that had this little bit, like a little bit more of a spiritual side with this like lucid dreaming and the meditation and so forth? Is there somebody that you could go, okay, I'm kind of like my, great grandmother or something like that? Is there anything like that in your family, or are you kind of like a one-off?
I'm kind of a one-off, but like my mom is kind of like into the spiritual stuff, like stuff I tell her and stuff. She's tried, she does tapping sometimes, and she does her little, sometimes meditates and does a lot of journaling, I think. But I'm pretty much the one. But my grandmother that passed away, she had some kind of weird shit going on too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I'm so open about it, and I don't
Yeah.
care if people think I'm weird. I'm like straight up,
Yeah.
I'm like, I had a dream about you last night, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh God, what is this about? And then I'll tell them, and then they'll come back a couple of days and be like, oh my God, like, or I'll tell them, like, I'll give them just kind of like a one-off advice, and then they'll come back to me and be like not telling them that I had a dream about them. And I'll be like,
Right.
hey, like just in a passing conversation, I'll say something, and then they come back and
Wow.
they're like, I did the right thing. And I was like, good. I've always been kind of weird.
Yeah, but good weird though. It sounds like you could do
Yeah.
some like intuitive coaching type stuff
Yeah,
too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
absolutely.
like
Which is
picking
what
up
I
on, yeah.
totally want to get into, because and when I start my YouTube channel, hint hint
Mm,
hint, it's coming
nice.
eventually.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk a lot about that kind of stuff, because I
that's cool.
totally I've always been very like empathetic and very intuitive with people. Like, I meet people and I just have a feeling like they're going through something or something like that, and I don't like saying I'm an empath because everybody kind of jokes about that, but
Yeah,
I can feel things, and I always been like that ever since I was a kid. I was like the one
interesting.
kid to like just feel like when I wasn't, something didn't feel right, and I was just very, yeah, I was very standoffish as a kid.
Yeah, oh,
Very,
interesting.
yeah,
So definitely,
still am, but
yeah, yeah, too funny. Let's talk about a bit about the tapping. Like, I
oh yes,
fascinated by that. I've never really gotten into it. I did a bit of like intuitive tapping on myself when I'd done that plant medicine I was telling you about. But yeah, what is your experience with that?
So EFT tapping, I have read the book, The Tapping Solution by Nick Ortner, and I have their app on my phone that I actually pay for because I love it.
Cool.
And there's a couple really good YouTubers that do it as well. But EFT tapping has helped me with my panic disorder and my anxiety so much. Like,
Yeah.
I used to have these debilitating panic attacks to the point where I would like have to go to the hospital kind of thing.
Wow.
And like thinking that my heart was going to stop and I was going to die. Like, it was
Jeez.
awful.
Yeah.
So I learned tapping from a friend at the club a while ago. She was Ukrainian, and she was one of my best friends at the club. And she was like, this has worked for me. Like, you need to try it. And so I started doing it. And, back then when I was all messed up on drugs and alcohol and stuff, you can't really connect to the universe as easily as now. I'm sober, clear-headed, vegan, like
Yeah.
I'm very like
Yeah,
connected, and I've always been
totally.
connected, but now it's like it won't, there's no letting go. Like, it is me and I am it.
Yeah.
So it yeah, like now that I'm just so much more connected, like tapping, like it brings my mood from, if I'm like in a bad mood, it brings it right up. Or if I'm having a
Yeah.
little bit of anxiety, swipes it right away. If I have some pain, like I've been tapping a lot for pain because of my knee and my surgery. I'm still in quite a bit of pain, and it's been 2 weeks today. But I'm still struggling with a lot of pain, so I'm tapping a lot. A lot. So yeah.
So for folks that aren't like entirely familiar with it, is it yeah, I guess, what is like a sort of quick crash course on tapping? It's like, it's finding a certain like energy point on your body and like literally taking your fingers and tapping. Like, how would you explain it?
So basically it's like a cycle. So like you go through the first cycle and you start on your eyebrow and you just tap while you say like, I am, like I'm feeling really anxious right now, like all this anxiety. And you go to your, like you basically go from your eyebrow outside, underneath your eye, underneath your nose, under your mouth,
Okay.
collarbone, and then like in women where your bra strap is, like right under your rib cage.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the top of your head. And you do a couple cycles of like, you do it like the negatives of it, and then you do the I'm open to it, like, and you're like, I'm open to accepting not being in pain, and I'm all that stuff. And then the third cycle, you can do as many cycles as you need to, but until you feel a release. But the last cycle is like, I am no longer feeling this pain, like I am feeling amazing kind of thing. Like, you kind of have to add the positive at the end. But there's a lot of guidance on YouTube, a lot of videos.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just look up like EFT tapping for whatever situation you're going to, and try a couple of them.
Yeah, definitely. I've been because I've heard nothing, but it's one of those other things that's really catching some wind. Like, a lot of people are picking up on this. So, and it was definitely, it's been yeah, something that I've been interested in. So that's super cool. So we're just waiting on the guest here. I think looks like he's just become active. So he's
just messaging back.
There we go.
Oh,
here we go.
We're spoiling it.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to do that.
Dang it.
Them.
Okay.
That person.
Yeah, I mean, that person, maybe she goes by a different pronoun. By the way, have you seen the new pronoun Zen? Have you seen this one? It's
yes,
Z-E. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen
Kind of
all
a-
of that, which is actually honestly for me, that's pretty cool. Like for me, I really don't care what people
Right,
call me. Like
exactly.
I
Yeah,
literally call myself, I'm
100%.
like, I'm just some guy. Like I'm just some person. I don't care.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
I basically mine, she, her, they, them. I really don't care.
Yeah, right.
Whatever you want to call me.
Exactly, and I'm the same with anybody else, whatever they, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Let's
I
be
mean it's
respectful. It's all
just this
good.
respectful thing to do,
Yeah,
period.
for sure, for sure.
I
No,
love
it's
it,
awesome. Like,
honestly. Like
yeah,
how the world is getting so like the acceptance among like communities that are,
yeah,
living in love instead of fear. Wink, wink, hint, hint.
for sure.
America, hi,
Right. Yeah.
bitches. Anyway, excuse me. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's just interesting how these like, more enlightened communities and people that understand universal law and stuff are
yeah.
getting that, you know, there's so much more and like just be accepting of people, just live in love. Like
Yeah,
what are you afraid of? Is that
totally.
your spirit being afraid?
That's exactly. So, but it's funny.
Well,
It's
it
because
is
it is, especially in the States. So you bring it up, right?
so
I'm
bad.
sure you see it. It's like it's very like polarized. It's either
Oh
the
yeah.
people that are incredibly, whatever woke, we won't say,
Yeah,
and
woke.
then the right, and then the
In a
rest of
good
them that are
way.
all like, "You hippies, go back to
Yeah.
California," and you know what I mean. Which
Yeah.
is it's really too bad, and
Oh,
not to.
weird.
Yeah, it is strange, but that
Like,
makes sense though, because if there's the one movement that's coming this way, there's going to be the people that reject it, right? And they're like you say, to your point, they're afraid, so they're
yeah,
seeing everybody else living a good life, and they are potentially
they're living in
envious.
fear.
They're living
And
in
then,
fear.
yeah,
So yeah,
they're
right. So
just polluting their own life force and making their life
yeah,
harder by being angry at people for being black or gay or
yeah,
non-binary or whatever.
yes, yeah,
Just
100%. Here
ruining their life for
is
themselves. Is
here
he
is
coming?
our yes, a special guest. We are about to admit him or her
Yes.
in.
My bestie, my
Oh, there we
pod
go.
partner,
The pod partner.
my pod partner,
The pod father, if you will. There he
the pod
is.
father.
Hey,
There's Dana.
sorry
What's
guys.
going on?
Let me
There he
start my
is.
video.
Hi.
Hey,
What's going on
sorry
there,
I'm
my?
late.
No,
Hi,
it's all
pod
good.
partner.
Pod partner.
What's up, pod partner?
Yes.
Good to see you guys.
You know what?
Good to
I
see
get to
you.
see you too, man.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We're just walking all over each other here. No, that's all. I just wanted to kind of recreate the moment that we had from your guys' awesome podcast I was on a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Dana, thanks for popping on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm at my rec center, which is the pool that I swim at a lot. Is right behind me. I'm about to go have my daily Zen time, and
Yes.
I need it today. So
Yes,
sorry,
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a rough one, but I haven't drank, and this podcast right here, not just just this knowing I was going to be on here is helping me stay sober. So thank you guys for helping me stay sober. Thank you
man.
for the listeners and viewers who are helping me stay sober. I don't know who you are, but know that you're helping this ordinary dude to extend his 83 days streak, whatever I'm at, 82 something. I don't know. I'm not gonna screw it up.
Rad.
Yay, good.
It's great,
We
Dana.
would hate that. So I'm not going to take over the pod by myself.
No,
I got one that I'm
seriously,
starting on my own. I don't need two. Thank you.
Right.
And that's what I'm like. I didn't start. Yeah, I didn't ask you to be the co-host so that I would, be able to. Hey, guess what? I'm going to start drinking now, and now you can take over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be so mad.
Right.
I'd be like, this motherfucker.
Yeah. I thought we were partners.
Yeah,
no, it was
pod
actually just
partners.
a trick
What the
to kind
hell?
of give you the podcast so I can see you.
It's,
Yeah.
it's actually what she named the. So we've got a joint Gmail account for the podcast, and she named the name of the account. I mean, it's like IKAGB pod at Gmail or whatever, but the name on the account is Pod Partners.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you
it.
guys, you pod partners. I love it.
Right.
That's great.
We're
That's
besties.
So what
awesome.
did I miss? What have you guys been talking about?
Oh,
lots of stuff.
Everything. Like,
Lots of stuff.
I think we're going to name the podcast A Lot to Unpack, because that was
there's
kind of
been a lot.
Yeah, we got
that would go along with the theme of my day as well. So I'm showing up at the right time on the right show.
Well, Dana, I want to give you a chance. Like, if you want, do you need to get something off your you're good. I want to give you a chance.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you guys offline. I mean, I'll just summarize. I mean, it's just another day of just the challenges of sobriety. I thought that getting sober would start to solve some problems, and all it's really done is kind of just force me to deal with problems that I was drinking under the table. So, or drinking to sweep under the rug or whatever. And it fits perfectly with what a lady on our daily ReFrame Zoom calls was saying today in her share, that, she's several weeks into her sobriety and she thought that things would be getting better. She sees all these other people having the pink cloud, and she's like, I want to have I want to, she's saying, I just want to see some of the benefits. And she's like, I just haven't. It's actually gotten harder for her. And I feel like I spent a good amount of time on the pink cloud. But I'm so up and down. I mean, we talked about that. I think on maybe the show that we had you on the other day, but Austen and I talk about that a lot because, she's been open about her bipolar. And, I've said that I'm not I was screened for bipolar and I don't have it, and I don't think I'm quite a manic depressive, which I don't remember clinically if that's the same thing. It's not. So see, and again, I minored in psychology 20 years ago, so I'm just dangerous enough to know, like, this guy knows something, right?
Yeah.
But
right.
But I mean, it just comes down to I'm a higher high and lower low kind of guy, and what I've been experiencing in the last day is, I mean, I'm going through pretty low right now, but my emotional state right now is different, and my self-talk's been different. I've been trying to speak kindly to myself, even though I don't feel like there's reason to. And that's come with I think that's a function of coming up on 3 months. I mean, almost 3 months. It's just taken dozens of people that I've met on the Instagram sober community, and people like Austen and you, who have pounded it into my head that I'm not a piece of crap and that I'm not perfect, but that doesn't mean that I'm worthless. And
it's okay.
I can make stupid mistakes, and it doesn't make the stupid mistakes okay, but it doesn't mean that because I made stupid mistakes that I need to destroy myself. And this is hard. It's hard. I wish, I don't want to be the Johnny Raincloud at the end of your episode, but
no, it's
like somebody's
you're good.
It's good,
this lady said on our call today, she said, she doesn't want to bum out any of the day one people or people that are early on, but someone else had described it as, in another lady described it in her share as a roller coaster. She said, let's just call this what it is. It's a
very
roller
much
coaster.
so.
Yeah.
And we're going to have, whether you're bipolar or manic depressive or just a higher high, lower low type of person, or whatever you got going on clinically or relationally or whatever, life is, adulting is hard. And, it's tough. And whether you're married or single, you got kids or not, or you're divorced or you're what, it doesn't matter. Like if you're an adult, life is hard. And it's hard when you're a kid. And that's when we all start drinking, isn't it? Right. So we started drinking early on.
Yeah.
That's when we were supposed to, that's how adults cope with stuff. So that's how we started coping with stuff. And we just chalked it up to, well, we're just having fun. We're just kids, we're just sowing our wild oats. And the reality is what we were doing was learning how to cope with things by drinking. And then, you get into middle life, like I'm 42, and you realize, no, that was absolutely, I was hardwiring a bunch of neural pathways that just, alcohol was the easy button. So, it's, anyway, that's a long ramble just to say, like, that's where I'm at in my sober walk. And I wouldn't be here without people like you guys. If I were doing this by myself, like I did for a year from summer 2020 to summer 2021, like I wouldn't have made it 83 days. No way. I probably wouldn't have made it 8 days. And I would have made it 8.3 days, but sure as hell not 83. So
nice, buddy.
So,
I'm glad. Thanks for checking in. And that's honestly, that's what this show, like these shows, that's what you need. It isn't just, it's just being real. And I appreciate you being real. And thanks for letting us know where you're at. Thanks for checking in.
Thanks for having me on. And
dude, anytime. You're always welcome.
You guys are, I'll duck off here and go swim some. Unless you wanted to keep. Did you guys have some other stuff you wanted to ask me or whatever? I don't want to like hijack things.
No, you know what? I'm glad. No, it's not a hijack by any means. Wanted to come on and just sort of like say recreate. You kind of have like the sequel, the unofficial sequel to the actual.
Yeah, man.
Such a great time.
It was such a good.
Such
a good episode the other day, and I'm so excited to watch this one that you and Austen are doing right now. She's just definitely good. She's dynamite. It's just I can't think of a better word than dynamite for her.
Dynamite.
And
Yeah.
dynamite.
Dynamite. Yeah.
Thank you.
But no, dude, and like
you
I
guys,
wanted to, yeah, I was just gonna say I'll give you a chance to plug the podcast again, because like I love the work that you were doing. You were a standout before, and now you have Austen on there. So just what a show you guys have.
well,
So
and I was texting her that, this little show, in spite of all the embarrassing and frustrating technical difficulties of the first dozen episodes, which all of my guests and my co-host who was my guest like 3 times.
Yeah.
So,
Hi.
yeah.
she she knew what she was signing up for. She's actually helped to mitigate a lot of those, and helped remind me when I was having a bad day a couple of days ago that I don't have to carry all this by myself, and I shouldn't.
You got a pod partner.
Yeah.
Pod partner. That's
all you need, man.
So, but I was texting her this morning or last night, I don't remember, some screenshots of our progress on listens and stuff. And I mean, it's just, exponential gains right now since she started appearing. I don't think that, correlation is not causation, but I certainly think that it's no coincidence that right around mid-April, when young Austin Washington started showing up on the show, that we started having a bigger reach, and it's not really about the numbers. There is cliches are cliche for a reason. It's because they're true.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if we just help a handful of people, or even just one, then it is all worth it, because every life is worth, is of immeasurable value. And that includes my life. And that's what I'm trying to recognize now, is that even if this podcast is just for me, and it's definitely more than 50% for me, and I'm learning to be okay with that, and learning to be selfish is a way to say, like, I have been selfish in the wrong ways for a long time, and now it's time for me to be selfish and learn how to be selfish in the right ways, so that I can actually be selfless. Because I don't know if that made any sense, but
it does. It does.
It feels very, very. I'm finally starting to do, I think, maybe what I always preached when I was an Army chaplain, and even just as a civilian retail leader, like you were, when you got people that you're leading in a big box store, or a grocery chain like you were in, which is big box too.
Yeah.
It's a big ass warehouse with hundreds of people that work there, and a gajillion line items and stuff you got to keep track of. And like you said the other day, like, stuff just coming at you is a spastic environment, and like, you're trying to do all these things for other people, but I was not able to meet other people's needs because I was not caring for myself. I was not prioritizing myself, and I told myself I was, and had all these reasons why I was, but I wasn't. And it's led to a lot of damage. And so now I just got to start where I'm at, and not cash in 83 days of sobriety. A third lady on the call this afternoon had said, she went to a wedding, and she's, I think, a couple weeks sober, and she'd been to her first wedding and had made it through, and how good it felt to make it through that without drinking. And that she had been able to encourage a mutual friend of her husband's and hers, that he had opened up to her when he found out that she wasn't drinking there. And he said, alcohol's in control of my life. I really want to be able to quit. And she's like, that mimosa or that shot of whatever she was considering doing, she's like, it's not worth that. And, I could go to my carryout, one of my carryouts on my route, on my circuit of places that I would go, so that I wasn't that guy showing up at the same place every day by news, right?
I know what you mean.
It's a mile down the road, and I'll drive past it when I leave here, but I'll just keep binging monsters and transfer addiction for now.
Buddy. Get those monsters, get after it.
Putting quarters in the self-love jar.
And the self-love jar. She's like, Austin told me every time it's not the cuss jar. It's every time I hack on myself, I got to put a quarter in. So, so she's going to be wealthy, basically. I
have a whole 75 cents right now.
75 cents.
Hey, give it a couple days. You never know, right? I just got to say, Dana, like, for sure, one of the first things that's popping out to me from just you talking is like, I got a really great sense of awareness. Like, where a lot of this stuff is coming from, which is great. That's the first step, right? Because as soon as you gather this awareness, as far as like where these emotions are coming from and the patterns, tracking them back to, your past life, let's face it. It's like, that's great, dude. Like, you have a great sense of awareness. And like, I just got to say, for what it's worth now, like, the stuff that is coming to the light, you're addressing it instead of avoiding it, instead of, putting it off with a drink or something, and it's going to crop up. So yes, it is challenging for you right now,
Yeah.
but it's like the stuff is addressing, you're addressing it. And like, that speaks a lot to you, what you're doing.
Sobriety. It's just got to start with the sobriety. And I'm
Yeah.
the most hyper introspective person. I always have been. And I realized that for me, it's actually backing off. It's a self-awareness, but I think I'm starting to identify what was toxic, or I think I've known for a long time what is toxic, but I was so afraid to speak kind words to myself, or to not throw myself under the bus for everything.
Yeah.
And now it's more what I hope will be a healthier self-awareness, and one that I will be able to turn into some gains, and just resigning. Hate to use the word resignation, but I'm at a place where in some things in my life, I'm just kind of giving up and I'm giving up control of certain things, and saying some things are gonna play out the way they play out, and I can't do it. The more I've tried to control it, the worse it's gotten.
Mhm.
And alcohol was one of the ways that I tried to cope. And now I'm just going to try to not drink and not control, and just say, you know what, I'm here right now. I'm breathing. My brother-in-law checked in on me a couple hours ago and was like, hey, how are you doing? I just checked back. I'm still breathing. And that's
Some
enough.
days that's what you got to do, and
It's
just you
enough.
being self-aware of that. Like we were talking and you told me, because I was having a bad day the other day, and Dana texted me and we were texting for a little bit, and I was like, I was telling him I'm at the start of a little bit of a depressive episode. I literally almost canceled this because I was feeling so shitty, and he told me that I was like really self-aware, and I was like, oh, nobody's ever told me that before. So I totally get like the self-awareness, and learning that you have that self-awareness is really, really powerful.
Absolutely.
Well, the insight that came, and I know I'm probably making your episode run longer than you planned on, but I'll say this to you. I told, I had a counselor friend of ours reach out to me the other night, and I just kind of got a bunch of stuff out that was cathartic and helpful. And afterwards I texted her. I said, thank you so much for doing this for free, and to just because she cared. And I told her that she's magnificent. And then I added in the text, I said, I haven't used that word in a while, and I added to the text, because during the call she had told me, she said, whenever you're speaking to me, I don't care what's going on in your life, you're perfect. You're just the way that you need to be right now. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But I actually let her tell me that. And I actually didn't fight her on it because I was so exhausted. And I just said, okay. And then when I texted her that afterwards, I said, you're magnificent. And I told her too, just so she would know that I really started to get the message, that I told her, I know I'm magnificent too. I just don't believe it. I said that I'll try to start telling myself that. And so I told Austen yesterday, I said, I don't believe this, but I told her, you're magnificent. And I said, I'll say it to myself if you'll say it to yourself. And she said, okay. And she wrote back 3 minutes later. She texted her, it was in Instagram chat or something. And she wrote back a couple minutes later, when I hadn't I hadn't said it yet. And you wrote back and said, did you say it? And I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should go ahead and say it. So it's really uncomfortable. Self-love is really uncomfortable because I don't feel like I deserve it. I feel like you see these bags under these eyes.
You do deserve it.
These frown lines. It's
you
heavy.
don't meet self-love queen. Everybody deserves it. And if you need to go take a week in some spa somewhere or something, go do it if you have to. Well, make your house a spa. That's what I do. I was having a shitty night, and I sat in that shower for like an hour and a half, and I ran the hot water over Robo-Knee, and I cried.
Robo-Leg.
I cried in the shower for an hour. So what?
Hey,
that's self-care.
Good to get it out, right?
Exactly.
You're kind of in a spa there. You got a swimming pool behind you there.
Exactly.
I do.
It's tiled, it's good. It's good.
Exactly. Awesome. That's all you need. As long as there's a tiled floor, you're in a spa. Okay. You got a steam room somewhere in there, I'm sure.
That's cool. If there's steams, the Romans called it a bath just because there was steam, so it's good. You're set. It's a palace.
Yeah, there we go. I love it.
You guys, awesome, I love you both. I'm gonna bounce off and go swim. I'm gonna let you
go swim.
So thanks for letting me share. This was a rough day, and I really needed this. And thank you for letting me semi-hijack the end of your episode.
You're good.
Anytime, buddy.
Love you.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Awesome.
Love
That was
him.
good. That was good. Great way to end. I'm
He's the
glad he hopped
best.
on. Especially, you know what? I'm as what's the word? Forget the word. Anyways, as sad as it would seem, I'm like actually happy that he was going through that, because it's just like,
You never know.
it's great that he can get it off, and get it
Yeah.
off his chest, and that we were there to do it. And it's good that we have it on the show. That's kind of what the show's all about, is like getting that,
Exactly.
getting those kind of feelings off your chest. And thanks for being honest about, like, you beforehand, like you were pretty close to not coming on. So I
Yeah.
appreciate
I
your
felt like
time, and
shit.
I hope you feel better-ish now after, having a little conversation. Or you still feeling a
Yeah.
little like
I
you need
feel
some?
okay, but I'm bipolar, and my medication works really well, but I still have my days. So,
Sure.
but the thing is, I'm aware of when, sorry, this hair keeps like coming out from behind me.
Yeah.
I'm self-aware of, when it starts happening, and I can kind of prepare. So
Yeah, you can moderate
yeah,
it or do what you got to
but
do with it.
yeah, and now like I feel good today,
Cool.
excuse
That's
me.
good.
But what time? It's like 5:15, so I guess
Yeah, we can wrap things up here. Thank you so much for coming on, Austin. And you're always
Yeah.
welcome, as always. I'm sure we're gonna have many more collaborations as we go.
Oh, I hope.
Thanks for your story. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
your story, and thanks for your time today. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk sooner than later.
Absolutely. Wait,
Awesome.
before we get off, let me plug the podcast. So
please do. Yeah.
So my Instagram is Sober.Asa, ASA, Sober.Asa. And I have a blog and everything. Everything is linked. Even our podcast, me and Dana, the guy that was just on here, we have a podcast, and it's linked on my Instagram. So go ahead and follow me. Message me if you need to. I'm literally pretty much always available. Some days I disappear for like a couple days, but I'm usually always back. I don't have a lot of posts on my Instagram right now because I'm rebranding. So that's that. But yeah, go ahead and check it out. And if you like and rate and all that stuff, and subscribe on YouTube if you can, that really helps us out and helps the channel grow and helps us want to make more content for you. And I'm starting my own thing soon. So if you would like to know more about that, go ahead and follow me, because I will be talking a lot about that in the next coming weeks. So
brilliant.
Yeah. Our podcast is called I Kissed Alcohol Goodbye. I forgot to say that. That's kind of important. But the link is on mine or Dana's page. He's I Kissed Alcohol Goodbye on Instagram, but we have our own Instagram that's gonna be launching soon. But we have like our joint one, and then mine is Sober-Asa or Sober-Asa. I even say my own name wrong. But yeah, I Kissed Alcohol Goodbye, and I'm never going back.
Awesome. Love it. Good way to end off. And of course, I will link that all in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time today. And yes, we will be, I'm sure we'll be talking intermittently over the next few days. Anyway, so great talk with you. Thanks for today.
Yeah, it was great. See you later.
Bye-bye.